Big Ten Network Plus presents Rutgers University Gymnastics this afternoon from the Rutgers Athletic Center in Piscataway, New Jersey. It's a Big Ten matchup as the 25th ranked Maryland Terrapins take on the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Hello again, everyone. Lou Brogno with you on the call alongside Dom Savino. We welcome you to the rack on this Saturday afternoon. And a great matchup here today between these two rivals, the Terrapins and the Scarlet Knights. Second time within the span of a week that these two teams have seen each other, Dom.
Yeah, this is not often that you see the same two teams compete against each other in the same venue, no less, on back-to-back weekends. But they welcome this. Both of these teams coming off a tri-meet last weekend that involved Illinois as well. Yet Fighting Illini won that tri-meet with a nice performance. Maryland was right behind Illinois in that one. But for Rutgers, a chance today, Lou. They got rid of those first meet jitters last weekend, a chance to put together a good score, and they're going to be aided today by the return of their top gymnast, Hannah Joyner.
Hannah Joyner back in the lineup for the Scarlet Knights, and that certainly is great news for Rutgers. Hannah Joyner, one of the top gymnasts in the Big Ten Conference, and they have high expectations for her this year.
Yeah, she had a big freshman season last year. First team all Big Ten as a freshman. That does not happen often. But when you go all around and post a 39.35, fourth best all time in the program's history as a freshman, you become a known entity very quickly. She is good on all four apparatuses. Her top one, beam, a 9.925 a season ago, tied for second best in this program's history. She's only had 1 week of full practice coming into this one, but talking to her head coach, Umi Salim Beasley, she said she may have missed 3 weeks of training, but she's elite. She's never missed a beat the way she's performed this week in practice.
And, of course, there's always bright spots to look at. With Hannah out of the lineup last week, it really gave the opportunity for some of these elite freshmen, some great recruits for this Rutgers gymnastics program, to kind of get their feet wet in competition. And the freshmen really did a nice job last week in that tri-meet.
Yeah, you got to be proud with the way they performed in their first college gymnastics meet. Kayla Newman went all around. Tough to do in your college debut. She was pretty impressive. She had a 9.7 on vault. That was the team's best. A 9.775 on beam as well. She's going to go all around today. Kayla Newman will, with Joyner and Belle Huang, of course, as well, going all around. So we'll see her. Avery Balzer, another freshman to mention. She competed on 3 different events last week. Led the team with a 9.775 on bars. So you saw very quickly the talent in this freshman class and also the depth of this Rutgers roster.
And, of course, last week, Maryland, the reason they were here in this tri-meet was the fact that their scheduled meet against Michigan State was canceled. And so after defeating Penn State in their season opener, they had an opportunity to compete once again instead of sitting out a week. As we said, Illinois won the tri-meet last week with a score of 195.525. Maryland just a shade under, very close, at 195.300. In fact, the Terrapins won 3 of 5 categories, and they come into today's action ranked 10th in the nation as far as floor scores are concerned, and ranked 17th in vault.
Yeah, I mean, some of the scores already through 2 competitions for Maryland, very impressive. To start, you mentioned they're the 25th team in the country, an average team score so far of 195.088. Floor, 10th in the country, like you mentioned, Lou, 49.15 on floor. Talking to Brett Nelligan, their head coach, before today's meet, he said he was really impressed with the way his team rolled with all of the punches. Initially supposed to go to Michigan State and then ended up coming up the Turnpike and heading up to Rutgers. Big performance last weekend from Audrey Barber, their all-around senior. She posted a 39.4, which was just a hair, a couple hundredths off of her career high. Look for her to have another big performance today. If Rutgers takes a step up from that 192.5 that we saw from them last week, and we expect they will with Joyner back and some of that first meet jitters out of the way, it could be a pretty fun competition today.
So it should be an outstanding meet today. Maryland and Rutgers, and we'll be back with the start of today's matchup in just a few moments here on the Big Ten Network Plus.
Gymnasts, you may now begin your one-touch. For the Terrapins, who take on bars for the first rotation, Rebecca Kickmeat, Sophia LeBlanc, Olivia Weir, Lizzie T. Barberry, Emma Silverman, and Audrey Barber. Rear Scarlet Knights out of vault, Stephanie Zanella, Katie Raby, Avery Walter, Kayla Newman, Benoit, and Anna Joyner.
Back at the Rutgers Athletic Center, just a few moments away from the start of today's gymnastics meet between Maryland and Rutgers. Scarlet Knights looking to bounce back from last week, although they did have some bright spots, as we said, with several of the freshmen. But they're looking for a higher overall score for sure coming into this dual meet today.
Yeah, the way Umi Salim Beasley told me her thoughts on Saturday's meet, she said, 192.5 is not going to get us to regionals, but nobody thought that was going to be the case with that score. She said, we were just proud to have full lineups. There were a bunch of gymnasts who competed last weekend for Rutgers who had sat out due to quarantine because Rutgers had a brief COVID shutdown, and so they had only had 1 week of practice, and then to add on top of that the amount of freshmen who competed. She said it wasn't our best start, but I couldn't be more proud because we had to go through so much just to get to that point. Now that they've gotten that out of the way, she wants to see increased scores and increased confidence from the Scarlet Knights today.
So Rutgers will start on vault, and Maryland will start on bars here to get things going. And Rutgers will be up first. Rutgers vault lineup is Stephanie Zanella, Jaden Raby, Avery Balzer, who had a strong debut last week, Kayla Newman as well. Bell Wong and Hannah Joyner will be the anchor on vault for the Scarlet Knights. And for Maryland on bars, Aleka Chicknius will start things off. Sophia LeBlanc will go second. Olivia Weir, Lizzie DeBarbery, Emma Silberman, and Audrey Barber, who had a terrific week here at the rack last Saturday. She will be the anchor for the Terrapins.
Yeah, Barber had a 9.925 on bars last Saturday, and that was a big reason why her all-around score took a big jump from what it was against Penn State. See if she can anchor with a big score for the Terps to start off this meet.
So Rutgers will start with Stephanie Zanella, the freshman out of Belmaid, nearby Immaculata High School. 2019, a National Junior Olympics qualifier. And she had a terrific high school career. And also Level 9 New Jersey State titles in 2016 and 17. Here she goes.
Double layout with a small step forward there for Stephanie Zanella. Sort of cocked her head to the side, getting congratulations. I think a nice way to start, though, for Zanella. Rutgers will start here just like they did last weekend with 4 straight freshmen to open the meet. And you see the double layout with a step forward. So I think a nice way to start for Rutgers.
So good start for Zanella. And then over on bars, Maryland will start with Aleka Chiknius, sophomore out of Spartanburg, South Carolina.
Oh,
nice routine by Chiknius to start things off for the Terrapins.
Yeah, fist pumps and high fives to start for Aleka Chiknius. 1 for 1 on sticks after that double layout to end it. Yeah, that's good. Big fist pump from Brett Nelligan, her head coach. You saw it there. Chiknius on bars so far this year, top score 9.875, and that one I think will be pretty high as well.
As we switch back over to vault, Jaden Raby is going second for the Scarlet Knights, freshman out of Calvert County, Maryland. So an opportunity not only for her to make her collegiate debut, but going up against Maryland. Of course, she is from the state of Maryland as well.
Yeah, Eastern National qualifier. You saw one of her teammates coming over and trying to just talk her through and calm her down a little bit. We talked about this a lot last weekend, as we've mentioned. It's true for Raby. Your college debut is such a nerve-wracking time, and add on to it the fact that she's just on vault today. So for better and for worse, you get 5 seconds right at the start of the meet, and then you're done. So see what she can do here.
Waiting on some scores early on. As soon as we get those scores, we'll let you know how Stephanie Zanella did and Chiknius for Maryland. Here's Raby.
Little under-rotated, but she stuck the landing nonetheless. It's a great job staying on her feet and a great way to get on the scoreboard in college gymnastics. Here's a second look at it. Looks like Yurchenko full. You saw her just get those feet around to stay upright. That's the important part.
And we do have some scores. Stephanie Zanella goes 9.350 on the vault. And Chiknius 9.875. And up now, Sophia LeBlanc for Maryland on bars.
LeBlanc a 9.65. That's her top score on bars through 2 meets. Double tuck, 2 for 2. Maryland, a really good start to this meet.
Good. 2 good routines by Chiknius and LeBlanc to get things started for Maryland.
Well, Brett Nelligan said before the season started that bars could be Maryland's best event. You see that double tuck once more. A tiny hop back. I don't even know if she'll get a 10th off for that. Ironically, though, it was the rotation that Maryland scored worst against Penn State. They got a 48.225. But last weekend, they were up to a 49, so jumped nearly 3/4 of a point in a span of a week. And so far they are 2 for 2, no doubt about that, with Chiknius and LeBlanc.
Avery Balzer. And the freshman from Carroll, Ohio. Nice vault there after a strong week in her debut last week against the Terrapins.
Well, this is the best vault so far for the Scarlet Knights, and like you said, with a good debut last weekend, you're expecting good things pretty quickly from Balzer. Again, a little, he wasn't able to get around all the way, so you saw her land with her chest almost parallel to the mat, but didn't really move much, took that step back.
And now moving over to bars for the Terrapins, Olivia Weir. The freshman out of Garnet Valley, Pennsylvania, was the Pennsylvania State Bar Champion in 2018 and 19, a 4-time Junior Olympic National Qualifier.
Yeah, I just had a fall there too on that release. She's a new addition to this lineup today for Maryland. Typically you'd see Sonia Glauber, a junior, in here, but Brett Nelligan said she tweaked her hip, and so Weir will be in this week on bars. You see Kayla Newman, she's the next one up for Rutgers after Weir is done on bars.
Well, Kayla Newman is on her way, even though we're still doing the bars. And a nice vault there by Newman.
Now, Balzer and Newman go back-to-back with quality vaults here. Yurchenko full. I think she got around the most of any of these 4 freshmen. They've had the best landing as well, with that tiny little hop afterwards.
Kayla Newman with a terrific debut a week ago. A couple of scores. Jaden Raby, 9.175 on her vault. And Sophia LeBlanc, 9.750 on her bars routine for Maryland.
So Rutgers now, you've got 2 veterans to close it out with Huang and Joyner. Balzer and Newman, I think, will be the best 2 scores of the 4 we've seen. And then for Maryland, you're hoping to drop the score from Olivia Weir. I got a chance to see her off camera. Looked like she rebounded nicely after the fall, but of course hoping to drop that because it's not going to be a terribly high score.
So Belle Huang is getting ready to go for the Scarlet Knights on vault, co-captain of this Rutgers team. And she's on her way.
Yeah, that's another quality one. So consistent. You know what you're going to get from Belle Huang every single time. That's high scores.
Big Ten gymnast to watch this year. NCAA qualifier, all Big Ten. And that certainly was an all Big Ten quality vault right there.
That's exactly right. Balzer a 9.525. Newman maybe something around there, maybe a touch higher, and then you hope Huang and Joyner can post a little bit higher than that to try to give Rutgers a good score on vaults.
Waiting Lizzie DeBarbery for Maryland on bars, but also getting ready for her first vault of the season. Hannah Joyner back in the Rutgers lineup after missing last week's tri-meet. And there's a look at Hannah, the sophomore out of Waldorf, Maryland, all Big Ten first team, Big Ten gymnast to watch. Last year against Maryland, she finished with a 39.350 career best all-around score.
Yeah, you can. The delay for Maryland is the judges' conference. Again, no surprise with the fall from Weir, you would get a conference. If you're more than 0.2 of a point separated between the 2 judges' scores, they have to chat it over. And so they'll try to get on the same page here and give Weir a score. But, you know, having somebody like Joyner back who was instantly elite when she got to college gymnastics and just continued on that path her entire freshman season is huge. I said it at the top of the show, I'll say it again. She adds almost a point to your lineup, maybe even more than a point, just by putting her in there. It doesn't matter that she only had a week of practice getting into this, because she's just that good.
Newman, by the way, for Rutgers, Kayla Newman, 9.625 on her vault, and Belle Huang, 9.725. So Hannah Joyner is the last to go for the Scarlet Knights as she will wrap up the vault.
Top score for her last year on vault, a 9.85 at Penn State.
And you know, Hannah's got to be, a nice big smile there, she's got to be anxious to get going after missing last week's tri-meet.
Yeah, sure it wasn't easy watching from home or watching from her dorm room, but this the moment you sort of wait a while for, especially with these gymnasts being in a long waiting pause in between their seasons, right? When the season got shut down in early March last year, a lot of uncertainty, but to finally get to this moment, I know it's so meaningful for these two teams and the teams across the country.
Lizzie DeBarbary
Ooh,
with a tough dismount there for the Terrapins.
you could see her trying to curl those toes into the mat and hang on to it. She stayed on her feet, though. I think that right foot caught her.
All right, Hannah Joyner ready to go for her first vault of the season.
Oh, yeah.
Beautifully done.
Big vault on anchor from Hannah Joyner, which is not surprising. I think this will be Rutgers' best score of the 6 so far. Gets high off the table on the Yurchenko full and a tiny hop back.
And her teammates erupted afterwards. Nicely done.
That got around very nicely. And a bunch of high fives for her.
So Rutgers wraps up on the vault, and Maryland still performing on the bars. By the way, the score for Olivia Weir of the Terrapins, 8.825 after that long conference.
It's a long pause here.
And waiting for the score on Lizzie DeBarbary. Meanwhile, Emma Silberman is getting ready to go for the Terrapins. A Big Ten gymnast to watch, sophomore out of New Hope, Pennsylvania. Had a 9.850 on the bars earlier this season against Penn State.
I love that from Silberman and Brett Nelligan. It looked like they were almost walking through her routine while they were waiting for DeBarbary to get a score. One more mental rep, that's all it was.
Hannah Joyner's score on her vault, 9.800.
Yeah, best score for Rutgers in the young season on vaults. That's what you expect when you get your star back.
So here's Silberman for the Terrapins.
That's a big job. Extending to grab that high bar and a nice transfer down to the low bar. Good looking handstand there.
Nice job there by Emma Silberman. And meanwhile, Rutgers with some extra opportunities here. Look like Jordan Zieden-Weber going, a sophomore out of Marlboro, New Jersey.
Yeah, Zieden-Weber, I believe, an exhibition gymnast for this and for bars today. For Maryland, not going to be as high a score as they want on bars because Weir and DeBarbary go back-to-back with 8s. Weir, you mentioned, Lou, had that 8.825. DeBarbary an 8.95. So that DeBarbary score likely to count here.
And Maryland will go with Audrey Barber to round things out on the bars, the senior out of Temple Hills, Maryland. Last week she put together quite a score, 9.925 on the bars, 39.400 all around. Had a 9.850 versus Penn State earlier this year on bars. Big Ten gymnast to watch. Outstanding performer, Audrey Barber.
Yeah. Her average on bars through 2 meets, a 9.888. Fourth best in the Big Ten, 13th best in the country. She had one fall in the opening meet against Penn State and then bounced back with that big score last week. Brett Nelligan said took her one meet to get right back to her true form, and that does not surprise me one bit. Meanwhile,
Emma Silberman posts a 9.800 on her bars routine.
That transfer down to the low bar just looks effortless. And that's a great looking handstand too.
Oh, nicely done. Audrey Barber with a solid conclusion to bars for the Terps.
Well, there's a reason why she is elite She's a lead, I think, on all 4 events, but particularly on bars. The lines are brilliant. She makes it look effortless. Doesn't hurt that it ends with a stick as well. Big scores here from Silberman and Barber to close out Maryland on bars. Exactly what you want from your 5 spot and your anchor. Yeah, I mean, and connecting it too, down to the low bar there from Barber. And here's that double layout. Pretty flawless there.
Well, after the first event, Rutgers on vaults with an overall team score of 48.025. Audrey Barber posts a 9.900 on bars, which pumps Maryland up to 48.275. So after the first event, Maryland has the lead, 48.275 to Rutgers 48.025. And we'll be back with more Rutgers Maryland gymnastics here from the Rutgers Athletic Center in just a few moments here on Big Ten Network Plus. Welcome back to the Rutgers Athletic Center as we get ready for the second event of the afternoon. After the first, Maryland with a slim lead, 48.275, and Rutgers 48.025. You take a look at those shirts right there. Today, both Rutgers and
Maryland task force. This summer, the Big Ten commissioned a whole bunch of different task forces and started a whole bunch of initiatives just in pursuit of equality and an end to discrimination. And seeing the shirts Rutgers is wearing and the initiative today reminded of a statement that Umi Salim Beasley put out back in June, soon after the murder of George Floyd. She said in part in that statement, as an African-American NCAA head coach, I'm in a position of leadership. With that responsibility, I feel compelled to speak out about the hatred and discrimination plaguing our communities. She went on to say, no one should be made to feel they're inferior to someone else based upon the color of their skin. We'll continue to advocate peacefully against discrimination and use our voices until there is equality and justice for all people. And I think, Lou, we can all agree folks deserve to be treated equally, given justice in all situations, and the different things, the different initiatives started this year by the Big Ten and the efforts that Rutgers student athletes and coaches have taken individually. We saw the football team, their Chop for Change initiative start this past summer to seek out equality, not only in the Rutgers community, but nationwide. I think is really important and really powerful. And I'm sure a lot of people will tell you something that has been desperately needed, some leadership on this issue, desperately needed.
So again, the Big Ten Conference today with the United as One Meet campaign initiative supporting Big Ten Conference's stand against hate task force. And you take a look at the Scarlet Knights as they get ready for their second event of the afternoon, which will be bars. And Rutgers' lineup on bars will look like this. Emily Draus, Kaylin Newman will go second, Belle Wong third, Abigail Karolewski, Avery Balzer, and Hannah Joyner, the anchor for the Scarlet Knights. Meanwhile, Maryland on the vault. The Terrapins will lead off with Reese McClure, Emma Silberman, Samantha Gilbert, Kalia Burgess, Audrey Barber, and Alexis Rubio will go last for the Terrapins.
Well, no surprise, both teams ended with big scores on that first rotation. Belle Huang, the 9.725, and then Hannah Joyner as the anchor, a 9.8. Those are the top two scores for Rutgers so far on vault. And then Lou, for Maryland, the 9.9 by Audrey Barber to continue her brilliant run on bars to start her senior season. Can't say I'm surprised she posted a 9.9 because that seems to be pretty routine for her, but a big score for the Terps to try to boost them over Rutgers after the first rotation. But the Scarlet Knights are within striking distance, so they go to bars, which was their lowest team score on any of the four rotations last week. Can they take a step up? Umi Salim Beasley told me, we don't want to count a fall this week. Rutgers had 2 falls, and one of them counted as a result on bars last weekend. That is what I'm looking for over here.
And of course, that really hurt in the overall team scores at the end, with Illinois at 195.525 and Maryland 195.30, and Rutgers not that far off the pace, but just a couple of points behind, and they all add up at the end.
Yeah. For Maryland over on vaults, this is one of their top events, as you see McClure go first. You can see why. I mean, she's a mile high off that table.
And Reese McClure on the vault. Nice start for the Terrapins, a sophomore out of Frederick, Maryland. Last year in the Terrapin Invitational, posted a 9.9 on the vault.
And she barely budged on that landing as well. Maryland, their score last weekend, a 49.075. But their average so far this season on vaults, 4th in the Big Ten, 17th best in the country. So they don't have many weak points on this lineup overall for the Terps, but if they had one, vault is not it.
Emma Silberman getting ready to go on the vault for Maryland. But Rutgers first. We'll start with Emily Drouse, the senior out of Longwood, Florida, co-captain on this Rutgers team.
Yeah, Rutgers moving her to the leadoff spot today on bars. This is her specialty. She had a 9.7 last week.
Nice start for Rutgers, Emily Drouse.
Curious to see how that compares to her 9.7 from last week, but a good way to start. And again, the goal on bars, don't count a fall. So looking for, obviously you want 6 hits on every rotation, but really boost that score, that 47.55 from last week.
Emma Silberman for Maryland.
Here's the dismount from Emily Drouse. Oh, pardon me, this is in the middle. That was her release, and then a double tuck with a little step forward, but she was able to stay upright. Emma Silberman, too. I love watching her vault because it's unique. That Yurchenko full onto the table and then a tuck off. It is a 10-0 start score, so it's very difficult, even though she makes it look pretty easy.
By the way, Reese McClure, 9.750 on her vault.
You see the twist there, and then almost corkscrewing off the table. It's a fun one. It's a unique one.
So Rutgers awaiting the score for Emily Drouse. And getting ready to go for the Scarlet Knights. Kayla Newman, freshman out of Jacksonville, Florida. Had a good start last week to her collegiate career.
Yeah, but this was the one trouble she had, was bars. When Celine Beasley told me this was the one event she probably had the least experience with in clubs, so a brand new routine for her, a little bit inconsistent and maybe lacking in confidence is the best way to say it on bars, and so she wants her to just relax here, and that's what you're hoping for. Just don't overthink it or overcook it, just relax.
Takes a deep breath.
That's a good handstand. And a nice connection down, too.
So a nice recovery by the freshman, Kayla Newman.
Yeah, I know she's going to be upset with the fall. I think it was on the same spot in the routine as well. I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, from last week. See the double tuck, just a little step back. But she recovered nicely, which is important.
Meanwhile, for Maryland, Samantha Gilbert with the vault for the Terrapins. Silberman posted a 9.7. Emma Silberman for Maryland on the vault.
So Yurchenko with a half twist for Gilbert, freshman from Connecticut. You know, Lou, we just saw Newman with the fall on bars. Umi Salim Beasley told me a story that she told her freshman before last weekend's meet. We talked about last weekend about how she was an elite gymnast at West Virginia, the only 10-0 on bars in that program's history still to this day. But she was telling the freshman about her first ever college meet. She competed all around, and she said she was so worked up, so in her head. Nobody was there really to try to calm her down and just get her to focus. She had 5 falls in her first meet, and she said it was all because of that, because she couldn't lock in and focus and calm down. And she said, sure, was it perfect? No, from the freshmen last weekend. But the fact that they were able to just go out and compete and post some good scores, when we thought back to her first college gymnastics meet, she said it was really impressive to her. And she's hoping too that her freshmen are benefited by some of those aspects of sports psychology and such that you see incorporated much more often now in college athletic programs.
So here's Belle Huang. Last week, a 38.975 all-around score in that tri-meet. A career high all-around is 39.30. So a strong effort last week for Belle. And she will go on bars here. Big Ten gymnast to watch. All Big Ten performer. Waiting patiently.
I assume their problem is adjudicating the score for Newman again in that fall, and so could need a conference here.
Meanwhile, we do have a score for Samantha Gilbert on the vault for Maryland at 9.625. And here's Belle's routine.
Back nice handstands, I thought. You can see Umi Salim Beasley almost standing there trying to keep her on that top bar. Oh,
nice,
yeah.
Nice job by Belle Huang. And her teammates erupt as they all felt the energy after that dismount.
Give her the crown. She earned it. There's the dismount. Double tuck. And she gets that stick crown that she earned. If you weren't with us last week, and that's what the Rutgers gymnasts are getting this year on every stick.
Meanwhile, this is Kalia Burgess for Maryland on her vault.
Another good one. Bit of a hop back there for Burgess. That should be another nice score for Maryland.
Burgess, senior out of Woodbridge, Virginia. Another solid performance there for the Terps.
Yeah, I mean, that's her big event, vault. She vaulted at regionals her freshman and sophomore years. Not her only good one, though. She's elite on floor. Really love her routine there. We'll get to see that later, I believe. Kayla Newman, I don't know if you mentioned this, Lou, an 8.625 on bars. So here's your goal if you're Rutgers. 3 more events, 3 more routines, starting with Myra Daniels here, then Avery Balzer and Hannah Joyner. No falls. Can you drop that score from Newman?
Myra Daniels going for Rutgers here on the bars. I believe Abigail Karolewski was originally penciled in at this slot, but it is not Karolewski. It is Myra Daniels.
Yeah, that's right, and you see Daniels fly off there. Abigail Karolewski, who is a bars specialist, was initially slotted in here. That was the lineup we got.
Yeah.
So it may have been a late game change.
So Daniels pinch hitting there, so to speak.
Yeah. You You saw the fall, a bit of a step back on the dismount, a double layout, stays upright, stays off the mat, but for Rutgers here, they will count one of those 2 falls.
Meanwhile, Audrey Barber, as you might expect, a solid vault for Maryland.
I enjoy watching how high some of these Maryland gymnasts can get off the table on vaults. Such power to extend off. Feels like you could stand a forward or a center under them, and they could just fly right over, stand a 7-footer under them.
Meanwhile, on the vault, Burgess for Maryland, 9.775. So the Terrapins continue to put up some solid scores on the vault. And for Rutgers, the freshman, Avery Balzer, up next. Last week, 9.775 on bars. In high school, the Ohio State bar champion in 2018. So this is a strong event for her.
Could use another team-leading score like that 9.775 from last week.
In fact, last week's 9.775 bar score for the freshman Avery Balzer was the top Rutgers score last week in this event.
Could use that again today. Love that skill. It's one of those ones that you watch and you just say, how in the world?
Oh, nice routine by the freshman. Balzer really had it going. At one point, she really had some great speed. Very energetic performance.
This is Rubio to close out.
For Maryland, Alexis Rubio. Final vault for the Terrapins.
Another really strong looking vault. Here's Balzer. I believe this is the dismount. Double layout. A little step backwards, but I think she's going to end up in that same range as that 9.775.
Meanwhile, Alexis Rubio, a junior out of Berlin, New Jersey, went to Eastern Regional High School, strong program down there in South Jersey. Opened up the season against Penn State with a 9.875, and strong performance here.
I mean, this is her big event. She's been the anchor for forever for Maryland. Hey, Lou, how about for Myra Daniels on bars, an even 9-0? So as you were saying, from our perspective, it looks like she was pinch hitting in a late game swap in for Abigail Karolewski on bars. So to get a 9-0 from her, even with the fall and even with, not the best dismount either, I mean,
yeah,
I think that's a way to save the score there for Rutgers, no doubt.
So Hannah Joyner looks to close it out here for the Scarlet Knights on bars.
Great handstand. Her 9.9 was her top score on bars from last year.
Oh, terrific dismount, a little corkscrew dismount, if you will, for Hannah Joyner. Nicely done.
You don't have to watch much of this meet to see what Hannah Joyner brings to this Rutgers lineup in her first competition of this season. I mean, wow, that is tough.
So let's get you caught up as you see a vault there for Maryland, caught up on some of these scores. For Maryland, the last two vault scores, Audrey Barber, 9.750. Alexis Rubio, 9.850. Now for Rutgers, Avery Balzer posted a 9.675 on bars. And we await Hannah Joyner's score. You gotta think it's going to be a pretty good score for Hannah.
Yeah, Drouse led off with a 9.725, and I would expect this one to be higher.
Meanwhile, the overall score for Maryland after 2 events, 97.100. And waiting to see what Rutgers is able to post here with Hannah Joyner.
I don't know if Maryland's going to be super stoked about this one, a 98.825, but Rutgers will be with Hannah Joyner's score.
9.875 for Hannah Joyner.
It's ridiculous. I mean, she's a quarter of a point off of her, I should say, 0.25 off of her best score from all of last year in her first meet back.
This looks like Jordan Zieden-Weber again getting an opportunity to put in a performance here. Nice job. So meanwhile, the overall score, Maryland leading it, 97.100. Rutgers at 95.975 after posting a team score of 47.950 on bars, and Maryland going 48.825 on the vault. 2 events to go. So much more to come here from the Rutgers Athletic Center in this dual meet between Maryland and Rutgers. And we'll be back in just a few moments here at the Rack on Big Ten Network Plus. Welcome back to the Rutgers Athletic Center. Lou Brogno along with Dom Savino. Glad you could join us on this Saturday afternoon here on Big Ten Network Plus. Rutgers and Maryland. So far, the Terrapins with the lead halfway through, 97.100 to the Scarlet Knights 95.975. Up next, Rutgers will perform on the beam. Maryland will hit the floor. And the lineups for the next events for the Scarlet Knights, they will lead it off with Jenna Ferguson, the sophomore. Kayla Newman, the freshman, goes second. Kiera Doherty Hurwitz, third. Stephanie Zanella is fourth, another freshman. Hannah Joyner fifth, and Belle Huang will be the anchor for the Scarlet Knights on the beam. Meanwhile, on the floor for Maryland, Aleka Chipnius will lead it off. Alexis Rubio is second, Emma Silberman third. Rhea Rouse is fourth, Kalia Burgess fifth, and Audrey Barber will wrap it up for the Terrapins on the floor.
If you're watching, you're saying, well, Rutgers' best events traditionally is beam. They can make a run here. They're a little more than a point off of Maryland right now, and it is Rutgers' best event traditionally, and from what they did last weekend, a 48.875 last weekend, 6th best in the Big Ten, 17th best in the country. Problem is for Rutgers, floor has been Maryland's best event so far this year, a 49.225. Their average of 49.15 is 10th best in the country. And so Rutgers will, you hope to get some big performances and big scores from Belle Huang, Hannah Joyner, Kayla Newman, I thought had a really nice beam performance last weekend as well. But Maryland has some huge floor scores in store. Audrey Barber there. Sabria Rouse, I think, has a really fun floor routine. Kalia Burgess. One difference for Maryland today, they don't have Reese McClure on the floor lineup. Talking to her head coach, Brent Nelligan, before today, he said her hamstring had been bothering her a little bit and she would be a meet time decision. So she did participate on vault, and she'll be on beam after this, but no floor for her. And so we'll see if Alexis Rubio, who is in the 2 spot, can sort of step up and provide a big score, because McClure had a 9.875 on floor this year.
Meanwhile, Rutgers, as you mentioned, Dom, has been perennially strong on beam. Last year, they finished with an average of 49.095 on beam, which was 21st best in the nation, and as you mentioned, ranked in the top 20 once again here after last week's performance. So here we go. Jenna Ferguson will lead off for Rutgers. sophomore out of Wellville, Pennsylvania. Last week a 9.775 on the beam. Last year she posted a 9.8 in this event against the University of New Hampshire. That was her personal best.
Yeah, that was that quad meet towards the end of the season.
Jenna, a great performer in the classroom as well, a Scholastic All-American for the Scarlet Knights.
That looked pretty good.
Strong leadoff performance by Jenna Ferguson.
Give her the crown. Great performance and a stick to end it as well for Jenna Ferguson. Lou, you can see why she has been on beam in every single meet of her career since the start of her freshman campaign last year. That was that first Acro Series. This was the dismount, starting with the one-hand back handspring. Corkscrewing around to stick those 2 feet into the mat. Should be a nice score to start off for Jenna Ferguson and the Scarlet Knights.
Meanwhile, Maryland getting ready to do their first floor routine. Aleka Chiknius will lead it off for the Terrapins.
9-8, her top score on floor this season. That came from the Penn State meet 2 weekends ago. Maryland's first ever win in Happy Valley. That win.
Little side note for Chiknius, she's an accomplished pianist, by the way. So multi-talented young lady. Nice start.
Really big jumps there too. Great job getting around there. Almost came up short.
Aleka Chiknius starts off for Maryland.
Now you'll notice just the 2 passes for Chiknius. Some recent rule changes. You don't need the 3 passes to start with those top start values, at 10-0 start value, but a nice job from her there.
Meanwhile, on the beam, Kayla Newman, the freshman, last week posted a 9.775 in this event. And we do have a score for Jenna Ferguson. Good start for her, 9.775.
And matches what she did last weekend. Just 0.25 off of her career high, and for Newman, lost her balance there on that flip. You know, Lou, I thought last weekend that she had the fall on bars and she bounced back really nicely on beam, but this 4-inch slab of wood can be merciless.
Kayla tries to gather herself here.
Yeah, this is the time you need your teammates to try to support you. You could hear a little pop from them trying to cheer her up. And a nice dismount too to close it out. Of course she's not going to be happy with the falls there, but this is something that as a freshman going all around, I said the story about Omi Salim Beasley falling 5 times in her first competition right out of the chute as a freshman on all around. It's not easy. And so this is just some of the stuff that as she gets more comfortable in this sort of setting and more confident in all of her routines, she'll figure it out. There's a reason why Rutgers has her going all around from the jump. It's because she's really, really good. And we'll see even more of that as this season goes on, I think.
Meanwhile, Maryland getting ready for their second floor routine. They're still waiting for a score on Chicnius. And it is Alexis Rubio who will go for the Terrapins. Jersey product, as we mentioned earlier, out of South Jersey's Eastern Regional.
Got mile high on that skill. Really nice first pass. Big split jumps there.
Nice job there by Alexis Rubio.
That's a fun routine from Rubio. First time seeing her score count. That was the double pike, I believe, to end it for Rubio.
Meanwhile, Doherty Hurwitz on the beam for the Scarlet Knights. Junior out of Bedford, Mass. .825, her career high in this event. In high school, she was the Massachusetts State champ on the beam, 2015 and 2016. Actually, I said 9.825, her career high on the beam. Actually, it's 9.850 against Auburn last year. Kind of interesting, right? Kiera Doherty Hurwitz from Massachusetts. Starts with a little Boston music, more than a feeling.
Yeah, that's true. Didn't even catch that.
I'm showing my age now.
No, you're not.
Kayla Newman, by the way, 8.450. So they need a strong routine from Doherty Hurwitz, and they get one.
Well, 3 sticks so far on beam, which I believe follows in the pattern of what Rutgers did last weekend as well. High fives abound and a crown as well. There's the dismount. looks strong. Again, Rutgers will try to drop that 8-4-5 from Kayla Newman. You add back Hannah Joyner to this lineup, and it is a really talented lineup, Lou. So get a nice score there from Doherty Hurwitz, I think, and you hope to continue.
Meanwhile, on the floor, Emma Silberman for the Terrapins. Chickneus, by the way, came up with a 9.7 for Maryland. Strong event for Emma Silberman, 9.8 on the floor versus Penn State earlier this year. Last year, she registered a 9.9 against Towson.
Yeah, she's another one who's been an all-around competitor since the start of her freshman season last year.
Registered a 38.875 all-around against the Nittany Lions in the opening meet of the year. Job by Emma Silberman for the Terrapins. Meanwhile, Kiera Doherty Hurwitz. Take a look here at Silberman.
Yeah, that was the final pass from Silberman. A couple of these, I think each of the gymnasts from Maryland so far has had sort of an under-rotated final skill on one of these passes. So, for Maryland, as mentioned, this is their best routine, their best rotation so far this year. You hope those 9.9s and 9.8s, we've seen a lot from them on floor, don't turn into some 9.7s, because it could give Rutgers an opening to get back in.
Meanwhile, Stephanie Zanella on beam for the Scarlet Knights, the freshman. Last week, a 9.775 on the beam. Strong performer in this event in high school 2016 and 17, New Jersey State beam champ. Kiera Doherty Hurwitz, strong score, 9.725. And Zanella, nice routine for the Scarlet Knights.
Love that dismount too, so difficult. Little beat jump and then corkscrews into it. Should be sort of a comparable score to what Doherty Hurwitz and Ferguson have gotten. And then you have Joyner and Huang. An opening sort of an opening maybe forming here for Rutgers, but I mentioned Maryland, Bree Rouse. She's got a really fun floor routine. Kalia Burgess and Audrey Barber after this as well. This is a tough 4, 5, 6 for Maryland, some of the best in the country on floor.
Alexis Rubio's score was 9.725 for the Terrapins. Here is Rouse.
Oh, double pike, flawless.
Put up, the senior out of Cary, North Carolina, put up a 9.825 against Penn State earlier this year in this event. State champion in high school, North Carolina, 2015.
Nailed that double tuck too.
Nice job. Sabria Rose.
Here's the first pass, double pike. I mean, such power, great height, speed. Didn't even need that extra step you're allowed to take, that step back. She stuck it anyway.
Nicely done, Sabria Rouse for Maryland. By the way, Stephanie Zanella on her beam routine for Rutgers, 9.725. Nice job by the freshman. And Hannah Joyner getting ready to go for the Scarlet Knights. Last year, averaged 9.910 in this event, 19th best mark in the nation.
Ooh! Lost her footing there on that backspring. And may have caught her shin on the beam as well.
Was able to grab the beam with her arms to prevent her face from hitting the beam.
Yeah. This is her top event too. 3 different scores of 9.925 last year on beam.
Nice dismount by Hannah. Collected herself after that fall.
Yeah, you can see she's upset with that fall. There's a dismount, and you see with the difficulty of the dismount why she's had such the high scores on beam, but curious to see how much she gets dinged for the fall.
Meanwhile, back to Maryland on the floor. Sabria Rouse, by the way, we mentioned that was a great routine. Sure was. 9.9 was her score. Here's Kalia Burgess for the Terrapins. Put up a 9.875 against Penn State earlier this year on this event.
Yeah, just a casual triple full to start on that first pass. This is what I mean. Didn't really matter, because when you get to 4, 5, 6 for Maryland with Rouse, Burgess, and Barber, I mean, sort of feels like Murderer's Row. They keep killing it.
Leah Burgess of the Terrapins.
Yeah, there's the triple full to start. Yeah. That's what I was thinking too, Lou. Wow.
Wow. Nice job by Burgess.
By the way, for Rouse, that 9.9, the best score for Maryland so far on floor. And it ties her career high as well. She had a 9.9 last year towards the end of the season in a dual meet against Illinois.
Still waiting a score for Hannah Joyner on the beam. Remember, she had that fall. And Belle Huang will wrap things up on the beam for the Scarlet Knights. Bell last week on the beam, 9.875. Her career high, 9.925 on the beam. And in the Junior Olympics in 2017, she was the national beam champion. So obviously, extremely strong event for Bell. Bell Wong with a nice routine to wrap it up for the Scarlet Knights.
Yeah, another solid one. She's not going to be happy, I know, with that little jump forward on the dismount, but I mean, this is the Acro Series. Tough. And then just couldn't hang on for the dismount there.
Meanwhile, Hannah Joyner comes in with a 9.125. Kalia Burgess, 9.775 for Maryland on the floor. And here is Audrey Barber. Audrey, 9.850 on the floor against Penn State earlier this year. Actually, 9.875.
Back-to-back really good-looking split jumps. Or straddle jumps, I should say.
Audrey Barber, nice job to close it out for the Terrapins on floor.
That's the first pass. There's the second one. And on this last one, this double tuck, you could hear her slam into the mat, hear her feet slam into the floor. She generates so much power on those passes and makes it look so effortless too.
Rutgers with an extra routine here on beam.
That's
Maya Daniels?
Yeah, Myra Daniels, that's right.
Maya Daniels performing. Meanwhile, Bell Huang, 9.800 on her beam routine. Maya getting an opportunity to perform here. And we await the score on Barber for Maryland on the floor.
Yeah, Myra Daniels, a freshman from Morristown, New Jersey. You're going to see her on floor in a little bit as well. We saw her on bars and now an exhibition on beam. Don't be surprised if later in the season she's on 3 or 4 events. Umi Salim Beasley told me before the season opener last weekend that she's sort of getting some of those other routines ready, but she's got the talent to compete all around.
Meanwhile, Audrey Barber finishes 9.825 on the floor. And an extra routine here for the Terrapins on floor as well.
This is Sophia LeBlanc, comes out with a nice double pike. Maryland an even 49-0 on floor.
And a total of 146.10. Rutgers 144.125 after beam. They finished at 48.150 in that event. So Scarlet Knights have some ground to make up. They're a full 2 points behind heading into the final event.
Yeah, one of the things that's hurt Rutgers today, their total score might be a jump up from last week, but what's hurt them is they've counted those 2 falls now on bars and on beam. The things that you work out as you go through a season, you don't expect these early meets to count towards your qualifying score for regionals, but you want to work it all out now, and so when you get to those pivotal meets down the stretch, you can hit 24 out of 24. LeBlanc finishes things off for Maryland.
And as we head into the final event of the afternoon, as we said, Maryland up by 2, 146.100, Rutgers 144.125. Scarlet Knights will perform next on the floor, and Maryland moves over to the beam. Back in a few moments here on Big Ten Network Plus. Back at the Rutgers Athletic Center, where Maryland leads Rutgers. Total score of 146.100 to the Scarlet Knights 144.125. We get ready for the last event of the afternoon, and Rutgers will be on the floor. Maryland moves over to beam. Scarlet Knights with a little ground to make up here, but they do have some strong performers in this event upcoming. Hannah Joyner and Belle Wong to bring up the bottom of the lineup. If you take a look at the lineup for floor, they'll start with the impressive freshman Avery Balzer. Myra Daniels, who's seen some action today, she'll go number 2. Emily Wood, for the second week in a row, will go on the floor. Kayla Newman will go 4th. Hannah Joyner and Belle Wong. Interesting, last week Rutgers had a heavily freshman-influenced lineup on the floor, and today, once again, 4 straight out of the chute. For Maryland, on beam, they'll go with Kalia Burgess, Olivia Weir, Sabria Rouse, Emma Silberman, Reese McClure, and Audrey Barber. So Scarlet Knights with a little talk there before they get ready for this floor event.
Yeah, I mean, if you just go event by event, Rutgers has improved on its score from last weekend. On vault, they jumped a tenth of a point to 48.025. On bars, they jumped 0.4 of a point, 47.95, even though Rutgers still counted a fall there. Problem is for Rutgers on the team score, trying to improve that today, is Rutgers dropped nearly 3/4 of a point on beam because you had the 2 falls there with Newman and then with Joyner. So can Rutgers boost the floor score, which was 48-15 last weekend, and improve the team score as well? And for Maryland on beam, this is the one event where they have not scored a 49 yet this year, which I understand is pretty remarkable in and of itself. It's telling as to where this 25th ranked team is overall at this point in the young season, but no doubt they're hoping for some improvement, looking for their first 49 of the year right here.
And leading off for the Terrapins, Kalia Burgess, trying to get things going here for Maryland. Burgess, the senior. Big smile there, happy with that landing.
Beat jump and then a side semi, which is one of those ones that just seems so tough to keep your balance on.
And a good start for Maryland, Kalia Burgess.
Yeah, and she's got room for growth this year. A 9.575, her top score thus far on beam. And she may find a better one right there. Tiny step forward on the dismount, but otherwise I thought nice routine.
Avery Balzer, the freshman for the Scarlet Knights, will lead it off on the floor. Last week registered a 9.775 in the tri-meet. Strong start for Rutgers on the floor. The freshman Avery Balzer.
Just able to sneak the crown onto her head as well. Should be a comparable score again to what she had last week.
Meanwhile, for Maryland,
Yeah,
it's Olivia Weir who's on the beam for the Terrapins.
we got a second look at Burgess and now Balzer.
Here's Weir, registered a 9.725 on the beam against Penn State earlier this year. And in high school was the Pennsylvania State beam champion
Good save.
twice, 17 and 19.
Remember, you never know what score is going to count. You never know how the last four gymnasts are going to do, so curl those toes and hang on to the beam, and Weir did a nice job of that right there.
Leah Burgess, by the way, 9.8 on beam for the Terrapins.
That's a big boost to her season high.
Job by Olivia Weir.
And a nice job holding her balance too on the dismount. I think she got sort of a one-footed stick there. Able to plant one foot and keep it.
Avery Balzer, by the way, 9.650 on floor for the Scarlet Knights. And Myra Daniels now takes the floor for the Scarlet Knights. Myra, freshman, as Don mentioned earlier, out of Morristown, New Jersey, South Jersey, National Junior Olympic qualifier. Myra Daniels, nice job. Her teammates thrilled with that performance.
Yeah, we keep talking about improving off of week one now to week two. Here are the three passes for Daniels. Just got those legs around there on the second pass.
Meanwhile, back to the beam. Olivia Weir, by the way, 9.725. And Sabria Rouse on beam now for the Terrapins.
So that matches Weir's season high. Rouse, member, tied her career high a couple of moments ago on floor. Can she carry the momentum over?
Nicely done.
Yeah, that'll help. Kept her balance nicely on that jump series.
Nice job by Sabria Rouse. Maryland continues to put up good scores. Rutgers trying to keep pace. Scarlet Knights up next on the floor. And it's the freshman Emily Wood. In high school 2019, she was the state champion for the state of Florida on this event. Emily Wood, strong performance for the freshman.
Everybody out onto the mat, high-fiving her. Definitely going to team score.
Meanwhile, back over to the beam, Emma Silberman up for the Terrapins. Held on.
Yeah, balance check there, but hanging on.
Couple of scores. Sabria Rouse, 9.775 on the beam for Maryland. Myra Daniels, 9.450 on the floor for Rutgers.
Another little balance check there for Silberman.
Nice job by Silberman.
Add that to the count of sticks today for Maryland. Rouse just had a season high on beam. Silberman a 9.7 best so far. I don't think she's going to get there because of the two balance checks. She'll get dinged for that, but a nice dismount will certainly help her case.
Maryland continues to put the pressure on the Scarlet Knights. Kayla Newman getting ready for Rutgers.
Hey, by the way, Lou, we get a chance to check out the Leos from Rutgers today. Crystals aplenty. We were talking last weekend about Rutgers Leos, the script, classic Rutgers across the chest.
Yeah.
Umi Saleem Beasley called it a modernized throwback look. She told me too. I wasn't able to find which outlet did it, but apparently Rutgers was ranked second in the national Leo standings.
They were sharp, no question.
Yeah, I mean, lots of crystals, but a classic look with that script Rutgers you remember from the 76 basketball team and so many other iterations in the 60s and 70s.
Kayla Newman, freshman. Last week on floor, 9.7. Nice.
And two brilliant passes so far.
Silberman, 9.650 on the beam for Maryland. Kayla looks like she's having fun out there. Oh, Nicely done. Kayla Newman finishes strong with a good floor routine.
You know, I go back to the mental toughness aspect I talked about earlier. That double pike to lead off. Double tuck on the second pass. Kayla had a fall on bars second straight week, the 2 falls on beam where she couldn't really find her consistency. To bounce back and do that and possibly find a season high, I think it shows you how tough she is. And sure, this may not be the all-around score she's looking for, but I think it says a lot more about what she can do in her 4-year career, that she's able to bounce back and put together a strong floor performance after hitting some adversity in the middle of this meet.
Meanwhile, Reese McClure on the beam for Maryland at a 9.875, a 9.925 on the balance beam against Penn State. That was the 3rd best mark in the nation after that first week. No slip there.
Nice job hanging on. It might not be quite that 9.925, but you can see why she's one of the top gymnasts on beam in the Big Ten, even as just a sophomore. With really tough skills.
Hannah Joyner ready to go for the Scarlet Knights.
.985, her season high last year. Did that twice.
Look at the height.
Mile high for the double pike.
Hannah Joyner, for those of you who may not know, trained with Simone Biles and was actually featured on the back of the Kellogg's Corn Flakes box and did a commercial with Simone Biles.
Great tumbling in this routine so far. I like that choreographed "Let's Go RU" from her teammates
Very nicely done.
Whole team is having fun with this one.
Terrific performance by Hannah Joyner after missing time. Not here last week for the tri-mate. She's coming back strong here today.
Yeah, you mentioned she used to train with Simone Biles. Her coach, Amy Borman, was the head coach of the U.S. women's gymnastics team for the 2016 Summer Olympics. So you see that elite background for Hannah Joyner, and you can see with that performance, 1 week of practice, that she's able to come out and do that. It is just remarkable.
Meanwhile, Emily Wood and Kayla Newman put up back-to-back 9.675s on their floor routines. And now Maryland with their last performance of the afternoon. Audrey Barber on the beam for the Terrapins. Audrey Barber. Exclamation point for the Terps.
And I think a personal exclamation point and what will be an all-around win for her. Here's some of Joyner's passes. That first one, a double pike. Connecting the three different skills there, really tough.
Hannah Joyner comes up with a 9.775 on her floor routine. And now, Belle Huang wrapping things up for the Scarlet Knights. Belle in 2019 NCAA Regional on the floor. Last year put up a 9.925 in this event. Nice job by the senior co-captain Belle Huang, wrapping it up for the Scarlet Knights.
And a big anchor score coming, I think, for Belle Huang. Double full there. Rutgers already above its floor score from last week, right now at a 48.225. I think it'll bump up a little bit more with Huang's score. I believe that was the last pass, so the double full in there.
And now Maryland just getting some extra routines in on the beam. Maryland finishes with a score of 194.925. And Rutgers were awaiting their final score as we await the score for Belle Huang.
Yeah, so for Maryland, it's sort of in the middle between what they did last week, the 195.3, and then 2 weekends ago with a 194.875. A little bit of a step back, but on beam, this is their best score this season, 48.825, inching closer to that 49 mark.
So Belle Huang puts up a 9.850. That's the high score on the floor for the Scarlet Knights. But it appears that Rutgers comes up just a little short in the overall team score. As Umi Celine Beasley talks to her Scarlet Knights afterwards, Maryland wins it 194.925 to Rutgers 192.750.
Yeah, you can see, even though Maryland took a step back, you can, in their score compared to last week, that is, you can see where their talent is. This is not new news for us and for Rutgers fans who've watched Maryland and Rutgers compete for the last 2 weekends now here at the RAC. Some of those 9-9s turned into 9-8s and 9-7s, and that's why the score dipped a little bit. For Rutgers, they bump up by a quarter of a point, even despite the fact they counted a fall on beam and a fall on bars. Lots of room for growth for the Scarlet Knights, which is exciting, and you hope that they can start hitting 22 or 23 out of 24. Obviously you want to hit all 24 of your routines, but they jump up almost half a point on floor, little boosts on bars and on vaults, and if you can just bring it together on all four rotations, Rutgers will post its first big score of the season, and you're hoping to see that next Sunday on the road at Nebraska.
Yep, Scarlet Knights hit the road next week. They'll take on the Cornhuskers at Nebraska on February 7th. And then back here against Ohio State on Valentine's Day, February 14th, before they wrap things up on the road at Minnesota for the dual meets. And then on to the Big Ten championships. Meanwhile, Maryland continues their strong start to the season, and they'll see Penn State again next week on February 5 on Friday. second time the Nittany Lions and Terrapins will have gotten together. But Maryland does win it today, and they defeat the Scarlet Knights 194.925 to Rutgers 192.750. That'll do it here from the Rutgers Athletic Center. I want to remind you to stay tuned for the awards, which are coming up shortly. But for Don Savino, our entire BTN, Big Ten Network Plus team, I'm Lou Brogno. Thanks so much for joining us. Maryland defeats Rutgers today here at the Rutgers Athletic Center.
And here we go, the scores are in. First up, the results on ball. In third place from Maryland, a 9.775, Kalea Burgess. The second best scorer of the day on ball, a 9.8 from Rutgers, Hannah Joyner. And today's top scorer on ball, a 9.85 from Maryland, Alexis Rubio. Next up, the results for bars. With a two-way tie for the second best score. With a 9.875, Aleka Chiknius of Maryland. And with a 9.875 from Rutgers, Hannah Joyner. Today's top score on bars, a 9.9 from Maryland, Audrey Barber. Now for the results on beam, another two-way tie for second place. The 9.8 from Maryland, Kalea Burgess. From Rutgers with a 9.8, Belle Wong. And today's top score on beam, a 9.875 from Maryland, Audrey Barber. And now the top scores for floor. The third best score of the day, a 9.825 from Maryland, Audrey Barber. The second best score, a 9.85 from Rutgers, Belle Wong. And today's top score on floor, a 9.9 from Maryland, Sabrina Rouse. And now the all-around top scores. The third best all-around score today from Maryland, a 38.925, Emma Silverman. The second best all-around score today, a 39.05, from Rutgers, Belle Wong. And today's top all-around scorer from the University of Maryland at 39.35, Audrey Barber. And now the team results. Second best team score, 1.75, your Rutgers Scarlet Knights. And today's top team score, a 194.925, the University of Maryland Terrapins. And last but not least, we have today's recipient of the Aaron Lynch Award for the most inspiring performance of the meet by a Rutgers gymnast. Congratulations, Jordan Zeden Weber. Today's recipient of the Aaron Lynch Award. Once again, congratulations to both teams. That concludes today's results.